Here's the thing, I love animation, and if you watch my channel, I'm guessing you probably like it as well. So today I'm going to talk about how two animated movies, Your Name and Phineas and Ferb Across the Second Dimension, both use certain cinematic techniques to achieve different effects. And yeah, I know this is different from my usual content, but I wanted to tie this school project into my YouTube channel, so yep. Today's episode is brought to you by my patrons at patreon.com/PhineasFlynn's So we have these two amazing animated movies, and they both open in very similar ways to different effects. Each opening scene begins with a piece of the movie from later in the film that foreshadows future events. Then, both movies transition to a musical number that encapsulates the tone of the film and sets up primary conflicts and themes addressed later in the story. Let's dive into Across the Second Dimension first to see how this applies. The film opens by cutting together a scene featured later in the film very differently, removing specific details that provide context to the scene that are featured later in the film. This creates high tension and asks the age-old question, how did we get here? Which Phineas even ponders himself.
1 minute you're having the best day ever, the next you're being fed to a monster the size of a 2-car garage.
In addition, numerous elements are brought into question, presuming you haven't seen any of the movie's marketing. For non-fans of the show, this monster makes no sense, and even for fans, it was only a brief joke in one episode prior to the movie.
My father came home with a brand new Spitzenhound puppy that he won in a game of Poke-Goosen with a stick.
Why is there lava? Robots? Phineas and Ferb have met Doofenshmirtz? By posing these questions, it instantly engages the viewer into wanting to know more about the situation, given how extreme and game-changing this all is compared to a regular episode of Phineas and Ferb. The scene also pays off as a joke later in the film when it's actually reached, something which would not be possible without the opening scene.
Blah, 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 2-car garage, etc., etc.
Yeah, well, welcome to my life.
Whoa, deja vu-ish.
Finally, the opening provides a beautiful contrast to the following opening musical number. But let's switch over to Your Name for a second. Your Name opens on an extremely long shot of a comet falling towards the city of Itomori. Not only does this establish one of the largest visual motifs of the film, but it also foreshadows the future in which Itomori is destroyed by a meteor later in the film. It is also the primary conflict that drives the third act, and is the theme of the opening dialogue that follows.
It was almost like
seeing something out of a dream. Nothing more or less than a breathtaking view.
In addition, this opening shows shots from the closing montage of the movie, and shots that set up the connection between the two main characters, Taki and Mitsuha. This would not be possible without the constant time jumps during the opening dialogue. Furthermore, the ages and hairstyles of the characters change in the opening, and it closes on 2 shots of the characters witnessing the same event from different places, with rising music that perfectly leads into and gives emphasis to the title card.
If only our voices speak at night.
So here's how Across the Second Dimension uses the same concept. There's a music rise,
And everything started out so well this morning.
a hard cut to black, and then a fade in on the classic Flynn Fletcher house. The sun is shining, the tone is drastically different, and the title card is also very simple and very pleasing. Then we get a joke about the movie's title set to the beat of the music. It's not surprising that 2D versus 3D becomes something of a recurring joke in the movie.
Hope you got your 3D glasses, because I'm coming at ya!
The musical number here is used to establish the primary force behind the movie, the relationship between Perry, Phineas, and Ferb. They love him unconditionally despite having no idea about his secret life. Everything is better with Perry. And to boot, the song is sung as if from the perspective of Phineas and Ferb. And it's really catchy. And the lyrics are incredibly on the nose. It's wonderful.
Everything's better with Perry.
This all comes into play when Phineas and Ferb discover Perry's identity and feel betrayed, yet still choose to sacrifice their memories of knowing him as Agent P to keep him as their pet. Basically, this song is the crux of the emotional arc for our main characters in the film.
Well, we've had a lot of great days, but we only have one Perry.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Oh, and it finally answers the question, how does Phineas put on a t-shirt with his triangle head? That's how. But Your Name takes its opening musical number in a different direction. It uses the style of a classic anime OP, which is essentially the Japanese version of a theme song. Coming out of a shot of the title card shrinking into black, this opening's lyrics and visuals establish numerous concepts and ideas that won't be fully explored until later in the film. The biggest is the separation between Mitsuha and Taki, as they are almost always seen looking for each other as time is seen passing in each of their lives. The other is the physical distance between the two of them, accomplished through impossible, wide, sweeping shots, and through the two never facing each other in the opening. The final visual established is the red thread of fate that connects them, featured multiple times, including in the last shot of the opening. The musical number similarly explores the themes from what could be the perspective of either character.
The blood dimensions keeps on teasing me, but I will keep on looking at you deep. Let's make a sign for when we say nice to meet you again. I'm on my way to you, chasing after your name.
I wish I had time to dissect the song more, as the lyrics are wonderful, but this short stanza gives you a sense of the struggle the movie follows. The 5 dimensions, time included, On My Way to You, as well as a title drop in the song. As is stated by James Cutting, my guess is that filmmakers introduced overlaid credits knowing that early shots of films were already necessarily slow, and that placing credits over them solved the dual problem of familiarizing viewers with the locale and tenor of the story, while also satisfying the need of putting the names of the major stakeholders up front. Overall, the opening musical number gives an incredibly strong sense of the movie's tone and feel even before you've officially met the characters. So as you can see, both of these movies use opening scenes featuring time jumps and opening credits musical numbers in very different ways. As Melis Inseer wrote on his analysis of opening title sequences in films, while a successful opening credits sequence can improve the viewing experience of a film, a substandard one can ruin that experience, since the opening credits sequence establishes someone's first impression of the film. Here, both leave an excellent first impression. Phineas sets up a punchline for a joke later in the movie while building tension for the viewer, and Your Names takes a more montage and tone approach, jumping wildly across space and time to establish its concepts. Animation is an incredible medium that can do anything, and to see it applied to tackle the same cinematic structure in 2 completely different ways is fascinating to me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Phineas Flynn's Law.